my channel? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching Welcome to a book haul. This is going to be a big old book haul. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about 60 freaking new books. These books, all of the books in this video are new releases and or anticipated releases, and I'm so freaking geeked about them. I absolutely love filming these book hauls for you. If you enjoy this video, I'm going to leave the playlist of my previous book hauls in the description box, along with a huge book unhaul that I did. I unhauled 100 books. So that is going to be in the description box below as well. But before we get into the nitty and the gritty of this big old book haul, I want to give a big old shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is none other than Book of the Month.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing e-commerce subscription where every single month they scour the market for the hottest books, the most promising books. They feature 5 of them on their website on the very first of the month, and you pick one and they send it to you in this nice blue box. Book of the Month essentially is just the most helpful service ever. They do the work for you of tracking the new releases, what's hot on the market. It saves you a lot of time and a lot of research, and they always offer a vast array of stories and perspectives and voices, which I absolutely love. There'll be something for the thriller readers, there's usually something for the romance readers, etc., that sort of thing. And if the books that they are centering that month just aren't your jam, you can go through their previous books. They also have add-ons where you can add a book on to the book that you've selected for the month, which is absolutely awesome. They have also announced that they are going to be featuring 7 books on some months rather than just 5, which is amazing. So depending on the month, you'll have 5 to 7 books to choose from, as well as access to their backlist. And in addition to that, they offer these gorgeous hardcover new releases at a price that you simply can't get anywhere else. So let us talk about the books that they are centering this month in March. First up, we have The Verifiers, which is an exciting novel about a girl who is queer and is finding her way to herself and who she wants to be in the world. And she is reached out to by this online detective agency, and when one of her clients goes missing, she gets in deeper than she bargained for. Then we have Cartographers, which follows a young woman named Nell, who is just an absolute cartographer nerd, and she's estranged from her father, and he ends up being found dead in his home. So she kind of goes to figure out what happened and finds a mysterious map which reveals a very dark history within her family. We also have the Book of Cold Cases. I've heard so many amazing things about this one. This is a book about a true crime blogger who interviews a woman who was acquitted of 2 killings. Then we have Dating Dr. Dill. Look at this romance book. Look how beautiful. The synopsis of this sounds amazing. Essentially, this is about a woman who finds out that her beloved family home is going to be sold by her father. But he says, okay, if you can get engaged in 4 months, I'll give you the house. This is about an indie musician who is reeling after a tragedy and a public breakdown and ends up going on a cruise with her estranged father. Tell Me Everything is a literary novel of true crime, and it is part memoir. And finally, we have The Paris Apartment, which is about this woman who ends up going to her half-brother's apartment. He ends up missing, and she feels like everyone is saying a lot less than they know. If you want to get your first Book of the Month box for only $9.99, use my code BOWTIES, linked in the description box below. So those are going to be the first 7 books in this haul. I think the final number of books in this haul is actually 70, right around 70. We're going to see. We're going to count as these books get discussed in this video. I'm so freaking excited. I don't know how I'm going to read all these books. I'm gonna be putting in work. Okay, there's going to be a lot of sleep sacrificed. The first book that I have here is All the Things We Don't Talk About, and this is one of the books that I am the most excited for out of all of the books in these stacks. It's about a non-binary individual who was raised by a neurodivergent father and a mysterious absent mother, and it just sounds amazing. It is kind of a coming of age. It seems like it's dark. It seems like it's emotional and moving and exploring of gender identity and family and I cannot wait for it. Switching gears to a space novel, this is Bluebird, and it is a sapphic book about lesbian gunfighters in space. What more does one want? I am so excited about this book, and it's got some heft to it, which means I'm hoping some good world building, some great character work. I'm totally gonna read this for Sapphic-a-thon, the monthly Sapphic book readathon that I co-host with Jan of Jan Agathon. So I'm actually in the process of starting a Sapphic books bookshelf specifically for Sapphic-a-thon, and this is going right on the shelf. Then we have The Town of Babylon. This is another book that I am like top 10 books from this stack, like the books that I want to read the most. Absolutely, this is one of them. First of all, let us appreciate this freaking stunning, gorgeous miracle of a cover. Beautiful. And so this is a book about a man who returns home. He's a professor in public health. His life is in shambles. His husband is cheating on him. And he goes to his high school reunion and just finds that a lot has happened. One of his friends is schizophrenic, living in care facility. Another one of his friends from high school is suspected of having killed a man in a homophobic hate crime. Another one of his friends spent a period incarcerated and is a recovering drug user. And it's about the intersection of all of these lives. And I'm so excited for this kind of like returning home situation and how it's going to impact his future. I literally cannot wait for this. Like, I physically am so excited. We have Peach Blossom Spring. This is a historical fiction novel. I believe it's set in 1938 China. And I got this from one of my Book of the Month boxes. I think it might have been last month. Another one that is absolutely in my top 10, this is Dreaming of You. And this is about a girl who accidentally resurrects Selena. And it is a novel that is told in verse. I'm so freaking excited. I'm so excited about this. I'm a huge Selena fan. What Mexican isn't? I'm really excited. Everything about this cover screams yes to me. When the publisher reached out and was like, hey, I'm looking for Mexican reviewers to send this book to. Are you interested? I literally almost peed my pants crying with joy. So excited to read this book. I know it's going to be amazing. Potential favorite of 2022. I'm just manifesting that right now. We have one of my favorite novels of all time, which is Milk Fed. This is a sapphic romance between two fat women. Both of them are also Jewish, and bisexuality, Jewish identity, body politics, standards of beauty, all of that is explored. It's short. The audiobook is amazing. It is incredibly naughty, so like to the point where I was on walks with my dog reading this book via audio and being like, oh god, can she hear? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's naughty. Then I've got 3 books that Book of the Month sent. This is River Enchanted, which is about 2 men who were like once childhood enemies and now they just who go to recover 2 missing girls that I think spirits stole. We love a spiritual realism novel. Then we have Vladimir, which is a dark academia professor dating a student kind of situation. Not gonna lie, the whole like concept of this book kind of creeps me out, and the cover is not giving. I know everybody loves this cover, but like the only way I could read this book is if I read it without the jacket. So if you've read this book, let me know if you think that I would like it, like especially if you know my reading taste, like you know how I am, because if not, I'm gonna like unhaul this. And then we have The Golden Couple by like this author duo who is really well liked. I think, I forget what their first book was it The Wife Upstairs? The Wife Between Us. They wrote The Wife Between Us, An Anonymous Girl, and You Are Not Alone. And this book is about like a bickering couple who's married and they go to marriage counseling, and the therapist that they're seeing isn't actually a licensed therapist. And it's like a commercial thriller, and I don't have good luck with these like very suburban, domestic, like run-of-the-mill thrillers. So I don't think I'm gonna like this, but again, comment down below if you think that this is a keeper. Okay, thus far, we are at 17 books. The next book that I have here is A Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This book I read via audio for Sapphic-a-thon and loved. It's a historical fiction book about an artist and a scientist who fall in love, and they're, forbidden sapphic romance. It's Victorian era, I believe. Kayla of Books and Lala sent this to me for Christmas, and I'm just so geeked to actually have a physical copy. Like, I can't wait to read this. This is part of a series, and I believe like all the books are standalone. Then we have Sailor Moon. This was a very kind gift from Sarah, Night Owl reader, who I just absolutely love and adore like all the way. And I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan. Like anybody who knows me knows I have Sailor Moon art all over my walls. I watch Sailor Moon way too often, and I've never read the manga, which is absolutely insane. Kayla also sent me Mangoes and Mistletoe, which is a sapphic foodie romance. I read this for Christmas. I read the audiobook. It was so good. I think that this is like not just a Christmas book. You read it whenever you get the opportunity. It's so good. And we have another book that I'm extremely excited about. This is a memoir called High Risk Homosexual, and it is essentially about this Latinx man who, as a boy, like the book opens up with him being at like a cockfighting ring that his uncle forced him to go to because he wanted him to become a man. And it leads us to his move to LA, and he's at a drag queen convention, and it's essentially like his journey to his own self. And I love queer memoirs. And this cover is so beautiful. Like I could give a whole analysis on this cover. This is a gift from my beloved Varpu, who Ace is just supposed to be the most amazing book of essays about asexuality. Ace Awareness Week recently passed. I am Ace myself, and I'm just so excited to have essays exploring asexuality and what it means. I've heard not one bad thing about this book. I don't know anyone who hasn't given this book 5 out of 5 stars. I cannot wait. This is at the top of my nonfiction must reads. Okay, I've already lost count. I think that was 22. So we're just gonna go with 22. Moving on. This book is called Always Home. I was just so floored when I found out about this book because it is a mother-daughter memoir that is told in family recipes. So it's like a cooking memoir. And I'm like sad and happy about it because, as many of you may know, my abuelita passed away on December 15th of 2020 from COVID. And at the time of her passing, myself, my mama, and my abuela were all writing a cooking memoir together, and we were going to literally do the same exact thing. And so I'm really excited to read someone else's cooking memoir, but even just holding it makes me really sad because, you know, obviously my abuelita is no longer with us, and it's going to be a bittersweet read, but I'm very excited to encounter this family, and like they have photos in there and good stuff. Then we have a collection of stories called Antiquities. Then we have a collection of stories called Antiquities. I've heard really good things about this author. And honestly, the cover of this book is what sold me. I have tried to read the synopsis like 9 times. And for whatever reason, the synopsis just doesn't stick. I don't know if it's just not worded very well, or if it's me, or if it's just boring. And that's why I can't remember it. But this is a book that I'm just okay with going in just to experience. So I'm excited to own it. I know I'm not going to get to it super soon. Like I might not get to this year at all. In fact, I'm not going to read this year. Like, let's be honest. Then we have 2 more sapphic books. We have Notes from a Crocodile, which I was going to read for Sapphicathon, I think in January, and I did not get around to doing it. This is set in the late 1980s Taipei, and it is following 2 queer women, I believe. It's a translated work, and I'm so excited. I bought it very recently because I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this is a modern classic. I want to read it. But also because it's so important for me to financially support Asian authors, and especially translated works, and I want to read more translated works. Next sapphic book here, we have The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. This is one of my anticipated releases. This is about a queer Mexican girl navigating Catholic school, and I could not be more excited. Like, I want to read this for the next Sapphicathon. Caitlin Morehouse sent me Pan's Labyrinth, which I literally almost cried upon opening. Also sent me these under eye snail masks that I've been wanting, and it's really funny because I've been using them every night. And I was on stream with Jan, and Jan was like, you're addicted to those masks. Like, what are you going to do when they run out? You know, like, so thank you to Kate for sending me this beautiful book and those masks. They have truly made my day. I cannot wait to read this. Like, Pan's Labyrinth is a work of art, and now I have it in written form. I just know when I'm in the mood for a nice, spooky, kind of middle grade-esque moment, this is the book that I'm going to be reaching for. Oh my god, what was that? Was that 26? Somebody take my brain away. Another translated work here. This was gifted to me by Varpu, and it is a Finnish novel. I'm going to be reading it for this video that I've had planned for a long time, which is reading books that my subscribers sent me unsolicited. And I'm very excited about this. It seems like such a radical, charming middle grade story, and I'm just absolutely ready. Then we have French Braid. This is supposed to be an amazing novel. Like, people on Bookstagram are absolutely in love with this. It follows a family from 1950s all the way up to a pandemic present, and I love, love, love books that follow a family's journey. It's one of my favorite tropes. Then we have Nothing But Blackened Teeth, and by the time the publisher sent it, I had already read the book and given it 2 stars. And honestly, like, it might even be a 1 star. This is one of the worst books that I've ever read in my life, and it's so sad because it has so much potential. Like, it had enormous potential, and I'm so freaking sad that it wasn't great. But this is a Japanese horror novel that I don't recommend. Then the publisher sent Vladimir, unfortunately. We have Beneath the Stairs. This is a thriller that I am interested in. I am interested. So if any of you have gotten your hands on like any of these early copies, let me know what you think, if I should prioritize this. This is a book about this man who just murders his entire family. Like, none of them are having a good day. And then years later, our main character and her best friend go into this old house where the family was murdered, and one of them comes out and the other doesn't. Then we have just another one of those books, like top 10 of this entire list that I can't wait to read. This is called Kaiki, and it is an Indian folkloric novel about a villainized woman. She is supposed to be hardcore, like not very friendly, like don't cross her. She is a mythological queen from one of the most popular Indian epics, Ramayana. I'm so excited. It has been compared to Circe. It has been compared to The Witch's Heart. It's been compared to Ariadne. Then we have a book that I have wanted for years. I've wanted this book since I started my booktube channel. I am not kidding. I believe it was Gabby who sent me this book. Gabby, let me know if I'm wrong. I'm like 99.9% sure that it was you. But this is a horror thriller novel about this couple who I believe like they're just not doing well. I think they're married, and they move to this community that is built inside an old psych ward. And you know, that never goes well. And we have Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights with a new introduction by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this is the new cover. I have never read Wuthering Heights, and I didn't really think that I had an interest in it until the publisher reached out and was like, hey, do you want this book? And I was like, actually, it kind of sounds like it could slap. So those of you who've read this classic, let me know if you think I would like it. And also, what are your favorite classics? Because I am very much in a classic mood. Wild and Wicked Things. The publisher sent this with this gorgeous bow on it, and I just still haven't removed it because obviously it's so sweet. And I might as well keep the bow on it until I'm ready to read it. And this is a book that is set on, I believe, Crow Island. And it's been rumored that magic exists on this island, but nobody's sure. And it's about our protagonist who moves next door to a woman that she's convinced is a witch. Another book that I'm so freaking excited about, like again, top 10 vibes. This is from one of our own, Raquel Marie. She had this sent to me and I'm so honored. I'm currently reading it via audio and it's adorable. Again, it is another sapphic, beautiful contemporary about this girl who's like, yep, I love boys. Boys are cute, boys are great. And then she meets a cute girl. And so it's her as a Latina, like exploring her sexuality and her identity and navigating school. And she's got like this great group of friends and their interactions are really fun. It's a blast. I'm nowhere near the end. I'm like still very early on to it, but I can't wait to finish it. Then we have Easy Beauty. This is a memoir with just one of the most beautiful covers. This is another one that I'm so excited about. It is about a woman who was born with a rare congenital condition that affects her posture and her gait and left her also with chronic pain. And this is a memoir of her experience as well as essays on what it means to be a disabled body, about standards of beauty, so many things. Like, this book sounds amazing. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of my favorite books. Like, do you ever just hold a book and you know that it's going to be special to you? Because that is the feeling that I got the second that I picked up this book. And that feeling has almost never been wrong for me. I have officially lost count. I don't know where we are. 5 more babies here. I thought you just said those were babies. We have The Witch's Heart. This was mentioned on the back of, I believe it was Kaiki, and I'm excited about this. This is a book that I've heard really, really good things about. This is a popular, beloved book, and I'm excited for it. Like, I think that this really could slap. It's another Greek mythological book, which are always very hit or miss for me. Very, very hit or miss, but this one does sound good. So this is about a witch who has to escape Odin's wrath, and Odin, I believe, takes away her power of premonition, and she flees to the woods where she falls in love, and she's trying to stay hidden. And then her powers of premonition slowly start coming back, and she realizes that all of existence is in danger. And I'm very excited. Then we have a book that initially I was like, I don't know if I want to read this. And then I got more into the synopsis and I was like, yes, I want to read that. So this is a legal thriller, which, as y'all know, can be very, very boring. Although I do love like a good legal thriller. I absolutely love. And what made me interested in this book is that it's a book about, I believe she's Ethiopian, an Ethiopian girl who's adopted by white parents, and she's found dead, and the white parents end up on trial for murder. And I'm very, very interested to see how this topic is handled. Catherine of Cat Reads, the sweetest person in the entire freaking world, sent The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey, Sarah Gailey, who is an amazing author. Like, this is my only book of hers that I've read, and I absolutely loved. And it's so sad because nobody but me seems to enjoy this book. But I was absolutely obsessed with it. I read the audio, and I just adored it. So I'm excited to reread it physically and see if I love it as much the second time. This is about a woman. She is a geneticist, and she finds out that her husband cloned her. And she starts bonding with her clone. Then we have Clean Air, another book that I'm currently reading by the wonderful, wonderful Sarah Blake. Sarah Blake wrote Nama, one of my favorite books of all time. It is a sapphic Noah's Ark retelling, and it's the book that you didn't know that you needed. This book is kind of ecological terrorism, environmental justice, and it is set kind of like in the near distant future where the earth is just completely air is unbreathable because we destroyed that. So people have to live in these biodomes, and there's a serial killer running around, slashing open the biodomes and letting in the toxic air and killing people. And so it's about this woman and her family trying to survive. Recently, I went to Moon Palace Books, and I wanted to just get something for myself, some nice little present. And I saw this book, and I was like, I know that I'm gonna need this book at some point. Like, the book just screamed comfort. It screamed, you're having an anxious night. Sit down and read dark fairy tales. This is a collection of creepy fairy tales told from a South Asian author. These are retellings, and the second I picked this book up, I knew that it was going to be comforting and special. And the illustrations are so freaking amazing. So like, here's Jack and the Beanstalk. We've got Brown Cinderella. Like, I'm so excited for this book. Next up is Sin Eater. Very, very excited about this book. This is about a 14-year-old girl who's forced to become a sin eater for the crime of stealing a piece of bread. And what sin eaters essentially are is they are kind of forced to sit and listen to the sins of others, the final confessions of the dying, and they have to eat very specific foods in order to cleanse themselves. And it sounds really, really cool, like feminist dystopian. Very excited about this one. We have Woman of Light. This is from the author of Sabrina and Corina, Stories of Indigenous Mexican Womanhood. And that book is amazing. Like, Sabrina and Corina is one of the most underread books in the book community, in my opinion. And this is her first novel, and it sounds amazing. So we're following a woman who is a seamstress. Excuse me, not a seamstress. She's a laundress and a tea leaf reader. And her life is thrown upside down when her brother, who is a snake charmer and a factory worker, is run out of town by an angry white mob. This is set in 1930s Denver, and she, as like a single immigrant woman, has to navigate on her own. Then we have Please Join Us. This is a thriller about a woman. She's 39. Her life is really falling apart. It's not going where she wants it to go. And she receives an invitation from this elite female collective, and she accepts the invitation. But one day she gets called to, I think it's a senator's house, and the senator kind of forces her to help her cover up a dead body. And we have A Hero Born. This is a book that I bought at Moon Palace Books just because I just wanted to buy a book, and I'd never heard of this fantasy before, and I could not be more excited. It's a kung fu fantasy. Cannot wait. So like, in this world, Kung Fu is magic. And the better you are at Kung Fu, the more magic and powerful you are. And it's about a boy who is growing up to become this great Kung Fu master and sees his destiny. That is a book I want to get to way, way, way sooner rather than later. I've been in such a fantasy mood, like such a fantasy mood, especially BIPOC fantasies. I absolutely cannot wait. And then we have Ariadne. Again, this was one of the books that Kaiki was compared to. I know Chloe absolutely loved this book. Loved this book. And this is another one that's really high up in my TBR. Even though I'm not into Greek mythology, it's so funny how many Greek mythological books are in this stack. This sounds really, really good. I was geeked that Book of the Month sent this because I don't think I would have bought it. Actually, I'm positive I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't for Book of the Month. And also, I don't even think I would have gone to the effort of like checking it out from my library. So very excited that I own it and I'm going to be forced to read it. Cuties, we've got our final stack here. We Ride Upon Sticks sounds absolutely wild. Really, really good. This was gifted to me by the Feminist Book Club and subscription box that you definitely need to check out. They're amazing. And this is like a sapphic sports competitive book about these teenagers, and one of them is the descendant of family that I think was in charge of prosecuting witches in the Salem witch trial. So it's kind of got this like witchy, creepy, historic background while also being about contemporary girls trying to prove themselves in their chosen sport. Very, very excited. And I've heard really, really good things about this one, like really good things. Then we have Violeta, absolutely gorgeous. The publisher sent this to me. I wanted to get to it before the book came out, but I didn't because of who I am as a person. Like I started reading it, but I put it down for Blackened and I have to pick it back up. But historical fiction, romantic novel from just the amazing Latinx writer Isabel Allende. This is another translated work, which is so exciting. It is set in the 1920s, and honestly, this is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. Like I need to spend less time looking at the cover and more time actually reading this book. And we have a picture book called Big Dreams, Small Fish. If you have seen my previous book hauls, y'all know that I love children's picture books. This is another thing that I do when I'm anxious and need comfort. I have a literal cubby dedicated to my children's books. Like I love children's books so much that I would literally read them to Akasha. I would spend time reading them to my dog because I'm not having kids. Then we have a book called Finding Querencia, which is a collection of essays about being queer and Mexican and finding your spiritual homeland. This I know is going to speak to me. Like, again, one of my top 10 books. I want to read this sooner rather than later. I know it's going to be so special, so good, phenomenal. Like, I honestly cannot wait to get to this book, and I have so much going on, but I need to squeeze it into my reading list sooner rather than later. Barpu sent We've Always Lived in the Castle, and I literally screamed because I went on a shopping excursion with Jan, and this book was being sold for like $6 and we didn't end up getting it. And then both of us immediately regretted not getting it. So we went back to the bookstore and it was no longer there. And Varpu ended up surprising me and sending it, and I just like geeked out. So I'm really excited for this. I really dig Shirley Jackson. I was actually this close to buying a collection of her short stories that was recently released. I don't know why I didn't do it, but the cover was absolutely gorgeous, and I'm probably gonna get that after reading this. 3 books left, y'all. So the first one here is The Death of Jane Lawrence. This was a book club pick for the Literally Dead Club, and I wanted to read with them, and I just didn't get around to doing it. But it is kind of Victorian era horror book kind of thing. It's definitely gothic horror, and it's about this couple that's going to be married, and the man is like really on top of his shit. He's got his stuff together. He is a doctor, I believe, or studying to be a doctor. And then he has an accident right before they're going to the altar. And he believes that his wife is going to kill him, or that she is not who she says she is, something like that. And because I missed the live show, I don't know how people felt about this book. So those of you who have read this book, comment down below and let me know what you thought of it. And if you think that I would like it, like, is this something that I should be prioritizing? Then we have Naruto on the Park. This is a debut from a Dominican author following a Dominican family whose lives take on very different paths when New York City falls under prey of gentrification. Gentrification, especially in New York City, is a topic I'm very, very passionate about because it had very, very harmful effects on my family. And I absolutely love novels of immigration. I love novels of Latinx identity, all that. I'm so excited for this. And finally, we have All the White Spaces. This is a book that I know I'm gonna love. Okay, I don't know that for sure, but I'm excited for it because the synopsis is everything I could ever want. So this is one of those like claustrophobia books, and it is set in Antarctica, and we're following this team who is exploring Antarctica,
which never ends well.
And they get stranded, trapped, they're isolated, no one is coming for them. So it's like a bleak, wintry, frozen tundra survival narrative. I love survival narratives. Absolutely. I love a winter setting. Like, I know so many people love wood settings, and yes, I absolutely do too, especially because I'm literally a forest goblin. If I could live in a hole inside of a tree, I absolutely would. But I also love a good creepy snow setting, and I'm excited about this. Okay, friends, comment down below. Let me know what you think of these books. Are there any books in this stack that I hadn't talked about prioritizing that you're like, yes, Jessie, you need to prioritize this book? Let me know in the comment section down below. Do not forget to check out Book of the Month if you have not already. They really, really are a fantastic service. I found so many of my favorite books through them. I have a link in the description box for you, and you can use my code BOWTIES to get your first box for only $9.99. I also have a playlist of my previous book hauls that I have done, including my 100 book unhaul, in the description box below. I have a Patreon for those of you who want some exclusive content from me. This month's patron dedicated video is going to be me talking about great books that have awful Goodreads ratings. But all my social media links are in the description box below if you want to check me out on social media. Thank you for watching another Bowties and Books production. If you want to let me know that you made it this far in the video, comment with the word books or leave a book emoji. Stay safe, be good to yourselves, be good to others, and I hope to see you in my next one.